Okay.
He's just being a fourth grader.
Yeah. And it's Brett.
All right.
And John calling him. Actually, say something just like this then.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I guess we'll start with introductions. I'm Jonathan Blank. I am a SELAC team member and a father of kids with special needs. I'm sorry, I haven't done this in a while. But you want to go around the room?
Yeah, I'm Dr. Rachel Santo, I'm the Director of Student Services.
Hi, Erin Errol, School Committee Chair and mom of 2 children in the district.
Mary Lou Presti, I'm parent advocate.
Shannon Johnson, I'm the teacher for grades 3 to 5 in the Compass program at Hamilton.
Kate Mulvaney, I have 2 kids in the district. Lee Wheaton, I also have 2 kids in the district. Laura Potter, 3 kiddos in the district.
Perfect timing.
And I'm Jackie DiLorenzo, Early Childhood Supervisor at Fishing Cove.
Okay.
And the agenda says to fill out your name on a 10 card, but I forgot all the 10 cards. All right, so the first thing we'll do is Dr. Santo's going to give an update on her report.
Okay. And as I said, I'm just going to do that report and then I have to go take care of an issue. So there was 2 things I wanted to talk about. Usually at this meeting, I'm reviewing the consolidated resource plan, which is how we spend our federal allotment of funds. That's typically what I would spend this meeting doing, just talking about what we propose. Just for your sake, right now, it's mostly positions. It's almost actually all positions. So it pays for our special educators, it pays for some paras, it pays for some behavior support assistants and things like that. But unfortunately, I can't show that to you because they haven't given us our allotment yet, and we're not anticipating it until July. That's due to the fact that they've cut 50% of the federal educational staff. They're intending to move the department over to the Human Health Services, which is concerning, and they're not sure. So for instance, when we do that grant, there's usually, it's not typical grants, they're allotment, and there's always this little bit of carryover, and it's being recommended right now that when they open it up again, which they're gonna be opening it again this next week, that they leave it any leftover funds for this school year that we encumber it, so that we can get those funds. Otherwise, they're all gonna go away. That's my understanding. We went to, Jackie, myself, and Julie, we went to a legal conference, the Case Council for Exceptional Children, Case Legal and Leadership Conference last week in St. Louis. It was really great, and we got some of these updates. Another update that I think is concerning as families, that if we can support by going onto the CASE website, ceccase.org website, there's a whole legal tab, and it gives you a form letter where you can contact our representatives. And it's really easy, just put in your email. They do recommend you don't use your own email, not a work email, and it allows you to put your name in and you can send this thing. 2 different things. One is Medicaid funding, and because they're having to pull from other departments, they have to cut $880 million from departments. The only way they can do that is some type of rearrangement or cutting of Medicaid funds. So that's one thing. The other thing that is on the table for the 2026 budget is to cut Head Start. Yeah. And also family and children's services within that, which I'm interpreting to mean early intervention. It may not mean that, but that's what it seemed like from the interpretation. So we're a little bit concerned about those.
Very concerning, yeah.
One thing, you do not have to be a case member to go onto that tab and to use their templates to contact our representatives, but if you can do that, that'd be very helpful. Maybe we can put that on the Facebook and things like that. Myrna Malkowitz, I don't know if I pronounced that right. She's very active on the Hill. She's a lawyer for CASE and CEC. Every month she does a 60-minute update. You do have to be a member for that. I do plan to start participating more in those because she said that things that she updated in January that she didn't think would happen have happened. So she's keeping us really on top of where we're at, and the only way to change it is by talking to our representatives and making sure they understand. One of the big things they emphasize that only 10% of our representatives and people in Congress were here when 2004, the IDA in 2004 was reauthorized. So you don't have any really historical or, which I'm looking for, like knowledge, like knowledge of what those programs did. So, and it's not, what's it? Agency knowledge, that's what I'm looking for, so I struggled on that word. They are missing that agency knowledge, so it's up to us to educate our representatives and let them know what to do, you know, what to advocate for. I can say I got a response already back from Jack Reed saying he's not supporting the cutting of Medicaid and what their plan is. So it's a little bit concerning, like, we don't know our allotment, I can't show you how we don't know what the money's going to look like. I am pretty certain because it's actually in the budget for this year that we will have that IDA federal allotment of funds. So that wasn't particularly happy news, as I attend those, and probably a bunch of us will attend them. We'll give you updates as we go of other ways we can advocate, yeah.
What percentage of like the special ed funding is federal funding?
It's not, I don't know the exact percentage for the district, but I can tell you our total allotment's about $1.2 million.
Okay. And that's the federal funding?
Yes, it's our federal allotment. It's about $1,800 a student in special ed, just about around that amount. Okay, so, and we use that, it's like every district, we use it for positions, because,
Yeah.
you know,
Sure.
it's you have to be careful, you have to give a little buffer, because positions go up every year as people go up steps, so you have to balance it out a little bit, because if your money goes down, you're gonna have a little bit of a deficit, but we do, that's our general allotment. It was slightly more this year, only because we had carryover from last year that hadn't been spent. And normally we get it this time of year, or February, but it was actually front-loaded, which we weren't aware of until February. That was like a surprise.
Rachel, are there schools in the country who do not receive Medicaid dollars as part of federal?
So Medicaid is interesting because Medicaid, each state kind of determines how they want to spend the funds. I really don't know of any public school district that does not accept Medicaid or federal allotments of funds. I've not heard of any district that doesn't. For us, the Medicaid funding is, helps to offset the costs of out-of-district placements that are therapeutic, things like Bradley Day Treatment Program, pathways, things like that. It's also helps with one-to-one personal care attendance, that helps to reimburse for that, and it helps to reimburse for things like speech services, but the higher reimbursements are those out-of-district placements and the personal care attendance. It can also, we get a little bit for like evaluations, but it's not a lot. The bigger ones are those two big ones. So no, I don't know of any, it's a good question, I don't know of any district that doesn't take it.
Because what I've heard, this was like on an unrelated thing, in terms of federal cutbacks, and somebody said, well, what if you live in a state where your representatives are, you know, friendly toward your point of view, and this is how they're going to vote? You know, what if it's like a state where
No.
yeah, and somebody said, well, you could, if you have friends or relatives who live in those states, you can encourage them to approach their representatives.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know how much of a difference it makes in Rhode Island.
The reason that I do think it makes a difference is because even if we think all 4 of our federal representatives are going to advocate for us, like the more information, the more stories,
Yeah.
the more things that we can give them. There are people, I believe, at the federal level that are on the bubble and that are more, like, they might be able to help persuade, work with their
Come this
colleagues, reach across the aisle to help that. So I do think stories and
The stories,
people's,
that was
yeah, I
totally
think
the
that
part.
matters,
It's
and
not-
sending it to our reps matter too,
Yeah.
like, cause it helps them have information to be able to share and perspective to share with their colleagues in DC. So I sometimes I feel like that, but then I think, no, we have to just send
I
them
think
stuff.
sometimes they just don't understand what the impact could be. If
Yeah.
we are now all of a sudden have a deficit of $1.3 million in this district, that's a big problem. It's a big
But do
problem.
people who do not know if somebody have a child or just say, my child does not need special ed services, so it doesn't impact me. So
Yeah.
how could you, you know, persuade somebody otherwise?
So I think when we're talking about especially consolidated research plan, it would affect all kids, because yes, there is special ed funds or IDA funds, but also preschool funds. They're not a lot in preschool, but there's also things like Title I that affects professional development. We have the I think that's actually Title III, but Title I affects like our lower income families, so it does impact everybody in a district. Right now, I'm not hearing that IDA is going to be tapped. There is some question about Title 1, 2, and 3.
My newest thing is I worry about it when it happens.
Yeah, that's what I'm at.
So I have been trying to be proactive, trying to send information and do what I can, but also like until it happens, like when that happens or if that happens, then I worry about it and figure it out because it's too much.
That's kind of
Too
where
much.
I'm at too. I'm like, if it happens, it happens, then we'll have to
Yeah.
problem solve at the time. But we will be in good company because it's going to be everybody. So it's not just this district. If it was just this district, it would be a different thing. It would be all districts. So I'm not all that worried. I'm more concerned about things like Project Head Start being cut, and that because that is in the proposed budget for 2026 right now. That makes me a little more worried because that's an important service, and as it is right now, Head Start only services 4 out of the 10 eligible kids. That's now. Now if they cut it, that you're not even getting those 4. So that's a little bit of concern, but we'll worry about it as it comes. Yeah.
Yeah. Are the special ed directors organizing in any way that you've heard of, even just specifically in Rhode Island, to
Really just
educate?
through the national organization, the CEC, because we have people up on the Hill that can speak for us.
Okay.
In the past, I personally have gone with the Council of Exceptional Children. I'm essentially the interim president. We're sort of not particularly active right now. It's a lot, I'll just say. But I've gone to that legislative summit in July, and what you do is you get kind of a briefing on what's going on, and then they actually schedule these for you. You go meet with Jack Reed, Sheldon White House, and you sit down and talk about those talking points. And you actually meet them face to face to talk about what's affecting education. And I will say that our representatives are pretty knowledgeable
They're
of what's going on.
responsive,
They
too.
really
Yeah.
are. They really do seem to understand what IDA is. They've been around a long time. I went a few years ago, I didn't feel like it was something new. They seemed to be on top of it. So I'm comfortable that our folks will support, but of course the more people to hear from, the better it is. So if you can go to that case tab,
Yep, so it's
Yeah.
and I'll send it out. I'll send out the tab to people.
Okay.
We can put on Facebook.
Yes.
If I thought about it earlier today, I would have done that
I'll
already.
just reply
So,
all to John's email.
yeah.
Or whoever, did Amanda send it?
Well, I know that Shannon will put it up on Facebook for us, so that's awesome.
So
that's always a
also
good
like
thing.
the principal's newsletter. I think that's such a great place to,
Yep. Put it
even
back
if there
in
was a
there.
sound, a little sound bite, go to this.
Yep.
Yeah.
We can
if
ask them to do
possible.
that.
Yeah.
We'll ask them to do that.
Mhm.
So I wanted to talk about that, and then I wanted to talk about the kind of exciting news of the preschool moving to DA, into that left kind of L. We're very appreciative of the school committee supporting that decision, because by making that move, not only does it give better space for preschool, they have therapy space, we can add, put out an RFP for an ABA clinic to be part of that programming. We can have a conference room and office for Jackie, so that she has space to do all the meetings that are occurring. But it also provides now room in Fishing Cove for us to move the upper elementary DA program to Fishing Cove, or now be called Positive Pathways, and we could add our Positive Pathways K program, which is a new program that we added this year to help meet the needs of the preschool kids coming up. So it provides our ability to give some space. Our Compass K program at Stony is also gonna get a slightly bigger space, which will be very helpful in how we are able to determine who goes into that program. Because sometimes if you have very small space, you really have to be careful. You may not only want to put 5 kids versus I could put 7, which would be helpful with our kids coming up. So we're really excited about that. We're excited, but we're a little bit like, oh my God, we have to do a punch list. What are all the things that have to get done? What do we have to get done? I'm really confident that it's going to go really well. I have to say that Chris Murphy and his crew are very responsive. Things get done rather quickly. They're already making plans on where to get rid of the 1970s desks that are sitting in it, literally the pink and blue ones. Do you remember? Aaron, like the ones we had in school.
No, I literally,
She went, hey, that was my
we
name.
tore DAs and I was like, I swear if I find my name on one of these desks, I'm gonna lose my mind.
The other good
It's
news
time.
is there's been a lot of furniture that has been mysteriously delivered, which I didn't know was there. I'm just telling you a quick story. We use lateral files in our office, and Deb, the admin assistant, was saying, I need more lateral files. Well, she put that in the universe, and I don't know how it happened, but I'm looking at these rooms, I'm like, where do those come from? There were lateral files. So I said to Chris Murphy, who's the director, I said, I'm gonna tell you now, if I tell her, they're gonna be in her office by the end of the day. He goes, oh, no, we'll help her move. I'm like, no, I'm telling you now. She was sure enough by the end of the afternoon, they were in. And then she didn't like it because they're uneven, so then she had to rearrange them so they didn't look like. So there's some, that was kind of I thought, kind of a cute little story about how we got more lateral files for our files without having to spend any money, which was a beautiful thing to reuse something. So they're in the process of kind of going through the furniture, making the space nice, putting in like really kind of, it's not huge overhauls, but little minor things that need to happen. And DA will move over to that right-hand wing. Our offices will be in the middle, so kind of half preschool and then half OFL in our offices. So I think it's going to be great. We're just figuring out nuances.
So, my question's going to be.
Playgrounds.
The playground.
Oh yeah, they're going to rebuild.
So,
build a new
okay, so
kind of
what
one.
is,
No
who
mulch.
is coming together
No mulch.
to put that together?
That I don't know. We haven't created that committee yet. We have a meeting to talk about everything that needs to get done coming up.
Okay.
Beginning next
So
week.
next week,
Yeah,
yeah.
beginning next week. It just got approved, so now we're looking on who's going to build that playground.
So is that part of like an open meeting that anybody can
Mhm.
attend?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so the process for that will be, one, I would recommend emailing,
Maybe.
well, Dr. Duva or the facility director, who is Chris.
Is it Chris Murphy?
Yeah,
Okay.
and just sending any thoughts to him, because I feel like he will be very receptive to that. So if you have a couple ideas or a couple thoughts or things from your experiences, like I would first just send that to him. I think it will go a long way, because he seems to be a good
And
listener.
the biggest part of
Yeah.
it too is, I'm on the Bright Stars Advisory Committee meeting, so we had a meeting today and I was explaining how we are now moving to a different location. I am going to have to reapply under the new framework, which is a little bit more, yes, very specific. A lot of special education has been added in there and accommodations so that, some of the old guidelines didn't meet what we need to do for special needs students. So it's a great framework. We had worked hard to put it together. So the good thing about the playground is we have certain specifications that we have to abide by. And so like the ground covering is one thing, like we have to look into different options. But we need people to really kind of help us kind of put that together. I have some ideas. I've been in a lot of different preschool playgrounds, but it's just something we should all kind of, we have to meet and come
We'll
up with.
request people
I was
from
just gonna say
parents
Jackie, too.
and things like
Maybe
that.
it should be
Yeah,
emails.
honestly though,
Absolutely.
it
Okay,
will,
okay.
I think it will move fast though.
It's gonna
I
move
don't
very
wanna
fast.
be overly,
Nope. It's gonna be
we would like people's opinions, we would like people's thoughts, but
Absolutely.
it is not going to be a 6-month, like,
No.
this is happening like now. So I would send an email first, but then to your point about opening meetings, because of the price of the playground, it will absolutely come to the school committee. And then because it's being paid with the bond, it will likely, unless it's under $20,000, will go to the town council meeting. So you'll have 2 nice meetings to talk about it. Huh?
more than 20.
I know it is. I was just explaining
You're
the
being nice.
process.
No, I'm just teasing.
I'm
like, it's 50.
for when those meetings
Yeah.
would be. So the process would happen at this point. The last school committee meeting, we made the decision. And then we have 1 or 2 meetings in May, 1 or 2 meetings in June. And then the tiny humans will be at DA in September. So it's gonna be one of those 4 meetings. So I would just keep an eye on those. But also, an item doesn't have to be on the agenda for someone to come speak to it. Anyone can come at any point to talk to. So lots of opportunities. And so especially like from teachers who work with students, and family members like that is invaluable information. So I would share it, but I would share it swiftly
Yeah, very
and
quickly.
effectively.
I would also say that
You can
when
always
we
CC
built
too.
one up in Cumberland just recently, we actually worked with the OT and PT too, because they
They
like
wanna be
certain
involved as
things,
well.
like
Yeah.
a balance
Yeah.
beam and a tunnel, because it helps them with doing outdoor services. So
Yeah.
we'll look at that component too. They already have ideas.
And then there's the gardens that are gonna be moved
Moved,
over, so
yeah.
we wanna kinda create, like, that space and shared space for the so I've got a lot of things,
Yep.
that PTOT, we've all been talking about, people have ideas, it's what we can actually do, that's why we need to get together.
They're gonna be pretty quick.
Yeah.
All right, so those were the
Exciting.
2 big things we're excited about.
Well, I actually
Really
might not
good.
come out of the bond.
I don't think it's from
Nope,
the
I'm not
bond.
allowed about that part.
Yeah, it was put in the budget. I
Yeah,
just know
it's
that.
getting paid for, but
It
it's
was
not
paid
bond.
for-
So just the school committee meeting.
Yeah.
Not
I
town
didn't think
council.
it was bond.
Nope.
No. So yeah, those are the big projects that we're working right now, and if I have any other updates, I'll let you all know. Okay.
Good luck.
Take
Yeah,
care.
good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
I hope she's
Oh,
okay.
I hope she's okay. Yeah. I think she was scared. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
So Kendra is not here for an update.
So I have the ESY update.
Oh, okay, good.
So, yep, Kendra, and so Kendra Winnook, our Assistant Director of Pupil Personnel, Student Services, and Julie Alfano, Special Ed Coordinator, she's also the ESY Coordinator. So they have been working really hard in starting the beginning plans for ESY. So the update is that pre-K and grade 8.
Sorry, Jackie, just in case there are any family members watching and they don't know what ESY is, can you just
Okay,
explain it?
extended school year, yeah.
Thanks.
So extended school year is for special education students that are recommended to come and receive services over the summer. And those are recommendations that are put forth by therapists and their special educator. So pre-K to grade 8 is going to be held at Hamilton Elementary School. And grades 9 through 12 are going to be housed at the high school. The student hours are gonna be 8:30 to 11:30. The extended school year program is gonna begin on July 7th. Students attend for 4 or 5 weeks depending on placement. And again, those are all recommendations made by the special educators and therapists. The academic resource program schedule is as follows. So on Tuesdays will be writing, Wednesday will be reading, and Thursday will be math. Currently, there's 155 students, grades pre-K through 8, recommended for academic services.
Sorry, can you say that number again?
I'm sorry?
Can you say that number again? Sorry.
Okay, yeah, 155.
155.
Yep,
were recommended.
students are recommended for academic services pre-K through 8.
Thank you.
Yep. There's 29 students, grades 9 through 12, recommended for academic services. We are also going to have speech and language services, occupational therapy, physical therapy, APE, which includes 15 walk-in services, and there's 95 total services. The vocational services for students in the sales program, that will also be provided during extended school year. And then there's compensatory speech and OT services as needed. So that, what that means is that if children have missed some of those services throughout the school year and that they need to be made up, because they weren't made up when they didn't have them, compensatory services are provided over the extended school year as well. So that's where we are right now. I know Kendra's working on, and Julie are working on hiring staff. So I think they're in a good place with that as well, but nothing's been confirmed as far as I know.
And that's Monday through Thursday, right?
Monday through Thursday. So different programs running. Some are running the Monday through Thursday. Some are 2 days, Monday, Tuesday. Some are Wednesday, Thursday. Again, depending on the recommendation and the program that the children are in.
Jackie, I think you said the hours were 8:30 to 11:30, and that's
Correct.
for all grades?
Yes.
So that's not that, like it used to be staggered?
Yeah, it used to be staggered, but it's all gonna be the same.
It's all going to be
time.
30 to 11:30, I believe.
So there's no issue with the buses and transportation
Right.
then?
Right.
Okay,
Julie's working all of that out. Yep.
okay.
Mhm.
Mhm.
What's Mondays? I wrote down the other ones, but I didn't know.
So Monday, I believe it's for the Compass program. You
Yes.
guys are running
There is a
Monday through
day
Thursday?
We're by ourselves.
Yeah, that's how it usually.
So life skills and compass, and I think the RISE program, or, the high school life skills program too.
Is the Monday through Thursday.
Yes.
Mhm.
Compass program and the life skills, is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
And Rise?
Yeah.
I'm trying to type, but I'm like,
Is the high school one called, which
So
is,
it's compass, then bridges.
Bridges is
then
middle
Rise.
Let me
school?
get the
And
spreadsheet
Rise.
out
Then
because
Okay.
there's just a lot
I have a
of
nice
different.
presentation. We have a nice present. We had, if you go watch last school committee meeting, what is time? I don't know.
Oof.
I think it was last one
Yeah.
when we did was the last meeting the one we did the pre-K vote?
Yes.
That meeting, there's a nice PowerPoint that explains all the programs.
Yeah.
It's great.
She wanted
Yeah.
a high school, like one of the high school students to do a nice visual of all
She really likes the.
And I have Julie's
She does
spreadsheet
like the
here
picture.
as far as like what, where the programs are.
As far as what we offer, is it similar, more, or maybe less than what other districts offer? Like I would imagine that it's equal to, if not more.
It's equal to, if not, I don't wanna say more, it's really the recommendations of what the child needs.
Mhm.
So there's certain criteria when we're recommending extended school year. So one is, do we have data that shows a child has regressed over time out of school to the point where when they come back to school, they can't recoup those skills in the appropriate amount of time? We look at the severity of disability. We look at if a child has emerging skills and you don't want that to end, and we want to keep going with that, then they're recommended for ESY. We also look at consistency, especially for the little ones, and even for your students in your classroom. You know, that consistency is really important for them instead of having that whole summer off. So there are certain criteria that we make the recommendations from.
I will go on record that I don't think it's enough. If you are curious for what parents think, it is just not very many days. So
Mhm.
my son will go for 8 days this summer, and if he is challenged, like he has problems in reading, and they actually get more days if they go for reading that's not special ed reading help than if they go for special ed help. So how would the kids who have like less, that don't qualify for special ed, but qualify for like reading, have more days? And I understand it's budget and there's a million like logistical nightmares, but I do think it's worth saying out loud.
Wait, let me just make sure I got that one. Okay, so a student that is recommended through the program, because not all students that have IEPs get recommended. So it's
Right.
what's the program? There's a name for it when they go. The students that we bus. What's that? It's not just ESY.
The
is it?
MTSF, or is it? So extended school year
Yeah.
is for special education students only.
Yeah.
And then there's the summer school programs that are the MTSS students or just the summer school.
Okay. So ESY.
That's a whole
okay.
different, yeah.
So if a student's in ESY, you're saying they.
have fewer days than MTSS.
We'll check on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
and I understand there's a
No,
lot
no,
of parts to it,
but,
but
like-
when I hear, like, my son qualified
Yeah.
for MTSS last year, and it was going to be more days than this, but he can't get special ed services if he does MTSS instead of ESY. And so it's like that he goes fewer days for support when he would be at higher risk for, like,
Slight regression.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Any other questions about ESY?
I do think hearing from folks about programs like that is really super helpful, and so I always call it like the soccer field chit chat. Like, always encourage folks to let us know about things, because I think our staff and Dr. Duva Down are so committed to students, but like the administration's still new. And then sometimes we don't know things either, and it's helpful to understand it, because sometimes it's we knew it and we couldn't do it. But sometimes it's we don't know it, and so we haven't even tried to do it. And those are two very different things. And for that one, at least for me, is I didn't know it. So anytime you hear someone chatting, just be like, oh, that wacky school committee lady, email her. That like, I think people think they're complaining, but it's actually really helpful to understand things, because then even if we can't do it this year, maybe we can look at something next year. With the buses for the MTSS students, like that came out of parents talking to me and being like, yo, like we need transportation. Yeah, and so it's really helpful. So thanks. Anything else, Jackie, you want to do?
And then there's just the preschool update. Again, I just wanted to say thank you to the school committee for approving us moving to DA. I'm really excited, but sad on one hand too, because we do love Fishing Cove. But we have some really strong systems in place, and so that we're just picking the program up and moving it over. So I'm really excited about the move, and I think it's going to give our program some room to grow, some opportunities to do more family engagement, and we just have just a little more space than, and different opportunities, so I wanna thank you for that.
Yeah. But so if you haven't ever been to DA, I've been a couple times, but we went in towards specifically to look at this, and it's actually very similar to Fishing Cove.
Mhm.
Like the way, I actually am convinced that they are carbon copies of each other. Like, I don't know, the Navy built Fishing Cove, but either we stole the design from them or they stole it from us, because that wing is very
except
similar.
for that, yeah, when it,
Yeah, but that particular wing, like,
Is the
it's
same.
almost exactly the same, which I thought was really interesting
mhm,
from a
yeah.
educational dork perspective.
You're gonna make it a nice little home.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
gonna do such a
Yeah,
great job with it.
thank you. I'm excited.
All right, so that is the free school update, right, you're finished with that?
Mhm, yes.
Okay, school committee updates,
Yeah, nothing at all going on at the school committee. Let's see, what would be important to you? Every day Ken calls me and I'm like, serious? No. Okay, so a very exciting, important thing to say is that the school committee budget, the town approved their budget on Monday. And although we didn't quite get what we asked for, the town worked with us and actually ended up giving us more money than what we had originally asked for, because we had received notification that our health insurance and dental prices were going up like a lot more than what we had anticipated. I think we had budgeted for 5 or 6% and it was 10%, which is astronomical in insurance land. And so they are working with us, and they actually ended up giving us, I think, $185,000 more than what we originally asked for, even after they had reduced it by $100,000. So we are optimistic about the budget and what we'll be able to do for students. We do need to make about $100,000-ish cuts, but we're going to try to do that in a way that has the least amount of impact on students. And we think that there's some opportunities there, and also like some unknowns. Budgets are a best guess, so we might make more revenue in certain areas or different things and not have to cut anything. But so we're happy with that, and we, I think the percentage of that the town increased our budget was about 3.84%. The highest that it could be is 4%. But when looking at other towns, I do feel very grateful for our town. Some towns 1%, no percent, 1.5%, and that is just, so I do appreciate the town's support. So that is good news in budget land. Ignore the part that Rachel talked about until it happens. And then the other things that are going on right now, obviously we are continuing conversations about the new schools. The stage 2 revisions, that might not be the right word. We have something due next week, right? And if you're on Facebook, that's what that's what we're talking about, our people are talking about. But the building advisory committee looked at and worked with the architects and different folks on like what the plan was based on Ride's feedback. And I believe the school committee next week is getting proposed with like a slightly changed middle school design. I believe it has 3 floors, no preschool wing, and so very close to what we had originally been working towards. But the benefit of that is it allows us to save some square footage because it's cheaper to build up than out, and so it will hopefully allow us to save some of the bond money to be able to reallocate to some other projects. So it's fine is my unofficial, like it's fine. It really is, I think, and I think the new design will be nice, and we'll be able to build a nice school for students. And then the other one is the redistricting conversations, which also has not been on the internet at all. And Facebook used to be fun for me, it's not anymore. But so I believe, and again, I don't have time to watch, I don't watch the meetings live, so this happened I think yesterday. Yesterday. So the redistricting start time and transportation advisory committee, I believe, is sending a recommendation to the school committee that doesn't have any widespread changes for fall. But we are going to continue to have conversations about allocation, districting in the district, the start times with the 2 elementary schools being at different start times and the high school being the earliest in the state, and then transportation efficiency, which is tied to the other 2 things. And so I think based on community feedback and whatnot, it was very apparent that that any change was not going to be
Yeah.
tolerated, it might be the word.
Welcome.
Yeah, and like I know redistricting is always hard, but like we really tried to listen to folks and hear what they were saying and tried to make, like what became very apparent to me was that that we needed more time in this district to marinate through what change might look like and to think about different options and different things, and Dr. Deaver agreed, and so we still have some capacity issues that we'll have to work through, particularly I think kindergarten in Hamilton is the biggest challenge, but we will work, he's gonna work through that, I think, for the fall. So that's what I know. The school committee has not officially voted on anything that I just told you. That's all at the advisory level, which is they just give the recommendations to the school committee, but we'll see all of that on Tuesday. And then pre-K, I think those are the big updates, like kind of what might matter for this group, but I'm happy if anyone else would like me to speak to anything else regarding SELAC, I'm happy to. Like if there's some other topic that you think I should have brought up.
I'm just wondering about, budgetary thoughts about next year's budget for special ed, in terms of like that's part of the reason why I'm on this committee is to keep moving things forward and future oriented. So just in terms of the investment in special ed for next year, what might that look like? Who's making those decisions? What conversations are having about that?
Do you mean, sorry, and this is a silly question, next year like September or next year like next year budget?
Yeah, I mean just future,
Yeah.
So the budget that's, agreed upon now
Yeah.
for next year's, school year,
Yeah, so the biggest things that came through in that budget is, and actually a lot of the additions, when I talked about that 3.8 or whatever % increase, some of that actually came from Dr. Santa's advocacy to the budget in looking at staffing needs and whatnot. And so I believe, there's so many numbers in my head. 1 or 2 teachers and maybe 2 TAs. One teacher and 2 TAs. Yeah.
1 teacher for positive pathways, 2 TAs for positive pathways.
And then maybe one other.
Maybe one other.
Yeah,
I'm
so
not
3
sure.
or 4 additional staff supporting students in the PPS area. And obviously the budgetary support for the pre-K move, and then I'm trying to think if there were any other big things that got added. So what I would say
high
is
schools I don't think anything at the high school.
nothing big.
Yeah.
But so what I would say is that our allocation of our budget for special education increased from last year to this year because of the additional staff that we're adding. And then what I would say, and I know it's silly in April, but like what for next year is I think what would be really helpful for me to be able to bring back from this group is like, what do we need from the parent perspective? And I think I said this before, but like, I think you're like we're ready. Like, what would perfect look like? What would help your students? What would help special education in this district? Like, what would the ideal be? Because then, if we understand that better, then we can start planning for it. Jackie's heard me say this. Like, pre-K for me is a big one. Like, that I have a lot of feelings about how amazing our program is, but how not accessible it is to families in our district because of schedule and all of the things. And so, there's some things that we've already earmarked, but if there's more things that you all think like, gee, if we had the money, we should be doing X. Like those are the things to start telling us, and then because then in September, October, we can make an official recommendation to the school committee via SELAC, and then Dr. Duva starts his budget conversations in November and December. So like that's how fast it goes. So does that help?
It does, and
Okay.
I think it's, whether we meet this summer, we have a Zoom meeting, whatever, but I think, I think the time is now. And I definitely would wonder about what the special ed teachers would say about what they need in the classroom, whether it's curriculum, like they're the experts on teaching and learning. We can certainly share our piece and we have our expertise, but, really asking the special ed teachers and paras and, specialists, I think would be important too.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for how Rachel does her process, but the way that the budget does get made is we start with what's called a zero-based budget. So basically we pretend we we start with nothing basically, and then we build it up, which means it basically means we don't take last year's budget and then just roll it over. Like we basically start from scratch and build up. And so I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that each division starts that conversation. So Dr. Santa would talk to hopefully their staff and the folks that you talked about, figure out what the needs are, and then it would go up. So then it would go to Dr. Duva, then the Budget Advisory Committee, and then the school committee.
And Rachel's really
Yep.
good at looking at each program, what's needed for each
specific-
program,
Yep.
looking at the needs
Yep.
of the students, especially like you said with the preschool moving up, like we didn't anticipate having 28 kids that possibly may need specialized classrooms. You know what I mean? So like looking at those numbers, Dr. Santa is great on like keeping up to date with all of that and reaching out to the special educators and really seeing what the programs are about and what they need.
But also, that is something that SELAC could ask PPS, sorry, the acronym always, I'm like, what do we call this now?
Student
Sorry?
services.
Yeah.
I know, I
SS.
think,
It's student
PSS?
services.
One P, two
Just
Ps?
SS.
No, SS, student
I
Just
services.
think
SS.
of like
We have no P
like a
anymore.
ship now, like it's like SS Gardner, SS Santa.
Yeah, it's student services.
Sailing ship.
Okay,
It goes
SS,
with the
yeah.
nautical
No, I got it now.
so-
That will, you're a great teacher, phenomenal teacher, thank you. My brain will absorb that forever now. Okay, so, CLAC could ask for that information, right? Like you could say like, hey, Dr. Santa, what are you hearing from the teachers, from the paras, from the folks? And gather that information, and then you could gather information from other parents, and then that's where a CLAC recommendation could come from, right? Like listening to the needs of the staff and what we know from parents. These are our recommendations to the school committee on what they should do with the budget regarding these topics. Like that's what it would look like, and that's what would be so helpful, because like I know from my mom perspective what I think, but like I'm just one mom, obviously, and so hearing like the things is really helpful, and then that helps us prioritize. And I think it's not a waste of your time, because I like Dr. Duva is so supportive of this area. That's how he came through his career. And I think the current school committee is supportive as well. So it's not like you're going to do work and then nobody's going to care. Like we might not be able to do it, but at least it would be a good time to bring it forward, because we would be happy to advocate and think about what you're asking for. So does that help?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And but before then, people could always let us know too. Like if you don't have to wait till the fall. Like you can always email me or tell me or whatever, because that helps
Absolutely.
when we're like strategic planning. So I think that's it, unless anyone else has questions for me.
So John, I do have a question. About 3 weeks ago, I had sent an email to you, Amanda, and Rachel about including something, and I don't see it on here.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if I could go next, because this is,
Sure.
it's a subcommittee of the school committee. So is that all
Oh
right?
yeah, that can go in my update.
Okay, well, I have the,
Yeah, that makes
okay,
sense.
all right,
So
so,
that is a nice place to talk about it.
so.
Would it not be there?
Both Erin and I are members of the DEI Advisory Committee, and after the equity audit in 2022, there was certain data recommendations, and one of the items that we as a committee have worked on this year is what we've called an equity vision statement. So what I did was I made copies. Erin, can you pass those down to John and Jackie? See, at our meetings, Erin's like got the Google Docs and she can edit them in real time. Not me, sorry.
Thank you.
So you can each look at, you can just keep these. So this is the statement that we as a committee worked through, and has it been approved by the school committee? Okay, and it's been approved by the school committee. Thanks, Erin. So why don't everybody just take a minute to look at it first. So the emphasis here is on all belonging, and that's what we are trying to convey. And so we just wanted to kind of get some feedback. We thought this might be a good place to see, you know, how does this feel to you? Does it reflect your student or your students, if you have multiple children whom you care for? One of the things that I in particular advocated for was the word disabilities as opposed to just abilities. A little over a year ago, I attended a disability policy seminar in Washington, D.C., and that is something that came through loudly and clearly. There weren't children there, but these were adults with disabilities, and that's really important to have that term used explicitly.
So this is already approved?
Yes.
Okay.
And there's gonna be a rollout, I don't have the schedule in front of me.
So they are, you seeing it today as part of the rollout. You also saw it, but definitely missed it, because I'm sure I missed it too as a parent. Like we had sent it out to everybody we tried to be, it went out I think once or twice to the community. But this is the current final one, although it could always be,
Final two.
yeah, everything's, this is voted on, it's approved. We, as a district, currently have an equity statement, which is exciting because before we did not have one. But anything can evolve. So if there is something, like if this group said, hey, we would really like to see X in, I know that the committee and the DEI advisory committee would be open to that feedback. But this is the final one, and the way that we're rolling it out is internal first. So they started with the staff at their March PD event. And then it's starting to just educate folks about the statement. And so by Mary bringing it here today, that's SELAC officially getting shown the statement. And so we're trying to start with those pieces, thinking about how we can get it to students and kind of going from there. And then in the fall, it would be like more external folks. So, making the town community more aware that the district has an equity statement. Or vision statement, excuse me.
I don't know if anybody has any input, but did you have your hand up, Kate?
No,
Okay.
no, I'm just
Okay,
reading it.
okay. And also, as part of our committee, we have two students who are students of the
They're
high
so
school.
cool.
Yes.
So cool.
We should have more. And so they are working on a survey to be administered within the school community. And they're really, what I find really helpful is they can tell us so when something like this rolls out, and they have like an assembly. So of course, I've got my disability mom hat on and I'm thinking, assembly for some of our students who might have sensory issues, what would that be like? And how could they still be included even if maybe physically that might not be the best setting in which they would be present? And for students who, might have communication issues or nonverbal, who is filling out the survey for them? Is that a survey that would go home to a parent? So we wanted to bring that here to see if anybody had some ideas. So, and the survey is not finalized, they're still working on it, but it's just things that sort of come up like, this is something we should consider. So my question is, how could it more clearly capture your student or students? And how best could it be conducted in terms of accessibility and applicability? So if there is, for example, a question on there, I think we've all at this point, parents at least, done like survey works. And as I explained at the DEI subcommittee, when I used to do it for my son, a lot of the questions didn't apply to him, and it felt very alienating. And it kind of surprised me, because that was assembled by RIDE, and it was like, well, they know, I think there was a question to check off, does your child receive special education services? So my assumption was there would be a whole host of other questions, but it didn't feel that way. So, so if anybody has any thoughts on how we could
It's the survey, Mary, that you're talking about? That's what you're talking about?
So it doesn't necessarily have to be just the questions,
Okay.
but how it's administered, but if there are questions that maybe a student might not be able to answer. I just remember with survey work, sometimes if something wasn't even applicable, there was no way to check that.
No NA.
This is, I'm trying to, this is a survey made by the 2 students, 4 students? Is that
Yes,
what it
they
is?
are working with Rob Mezzanotte, who is the assistant school superintendent, like kind of
Yeah.
overseeing.
So that
God
one,
bless you.
so there's 2 different things going on. So the equity vision statement is one thing, but then what Mary's talking about is, so in 2022, we did a, what's the word?
Equity
Audit, thank you, an equity audit. It's April 30th, and I college admissions is my work is working right now. Okay, so thank you for the help. So we did an equity audit, and we received a lot of information about the students in the district from the equity audit. And the DEI advisory committee has been implementing some of those suggestions, and one of the suggestions was an equity vision statement. So like we're taking from this company what they had suggested the district should do. Another one was having a staff member at least partially dedicated to working on things that needed to be done in the survey. That position was created in the belonging equity, whatever the title is now. Yep. Thank you. Great job. And so then we were talking about, one of the things was trying to figure out how to help the knowledge base of students in the district about certain things. So what would help them, you know, get like basically PD for students in the topics and areas that were identified in the equity audit. And one of the things that the committee came up with was sending out a survey, not to ask them more about their experiences, but to ask them about like what would help, like NKHS, for example, like students know more about whatever the question might be. And so that is what Mary's talking about, is that survey that's going to go out to students. And I think what Mary's goal is to get feedback or thoughts from SELAC on how a survey about making things better and more equitable can be equitable and include your student voices. Did I get that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Got it.
So that is what Mary is looking for, is if any suggestions or thoughts. I think the ones that Mary provided were really helpful about like that assembly sometimes is really tough for folks, and that might not be, like if we do an assembly, making sure that they can get the information there or in a different way, or have accommodations to be there or whatnot. But if other folks have suggestions about either of the survey or the vision statement, we'd be happy to bring that back to the committee.
What about something like, maybe you ask the kids if they know of like peer partners or the different ways they can help, right? I mean, wouldn't that be a good question? Like, for our kids at least? I don't know, something like that. What kind of ways do you know the different ways that you could participate or help with special needs kids? I mean, I don't know what else the students would.
I think you could also think about things for like for the survey itself, the accessibility parts, right? Like, are they able to increase and reduce the font size? Are they able to do like a voice reader to use it? So a big part of my professional life is writing surveys. So if you sent it to me, I'd be glad to work with the students on it, or to oh, then no. I would
No, it's fine. It's fine.
No.
It's fine. Just like statistically sound is not it.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
making sure the questions work is what,
Yeah.
you know, like,
That's
because
good to
it's
know.
like designing questions so
Yep.
that you're only
So-
asking one thing per question instead of multiple things per question.
And if you wanna like mull it over and just email me your thoughts, feel free to do that. I don't expect people to
Right.
come up for it.
Yeah.
Is there, that was super helpful though, and I will make sure to share the feedback about making sure that whatever we send out, and I'm not sure, it's usually Google Forms, but like what is those options? Like you said, the font and making sure that it's usable with the voice reader. Are there any other suggestions from either your personal
And just
experience
so I understand, so this is
Yep.
one survey capturing different aspects of how students can feel more included in certain things,
Mhm.
but it's one survey.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
It's one survey,
Yeah.
and it's specifically asking about,
Is it for middle and high school?
I think at this point, it's just for the high school, correct?
it's probably just for the high school,
Okay.
although I often talk about how like my 9th grader has a lot of opinions, or not 9th grader, excuse me, 9-year-old
Yeah.
has many opinions. No, maybe not. He thinks he is. And my 1st grader has more opinions, and so I talk about how I think our students actually can give us a lot more than what we ask them. Like I think they know a lot more and have a lot more opinions about it. So we're compromising by starting at the high school, but my goal would be, I believe all students in this district should have voice in their education and can give voice to things at obviously an age appropriate question level, but like I believe they all deserve to let us know what's up.
I would never wanna
Yeah.
put that on the teachers, but I mean, I'm just thinking of like even Shannon and, you know, your cohorts gathering that information and facilitating a group, you know, and then talking to the peer buddies, like the way that you got the peer buddies
Yep.
feedback about, you know, Unified Week, that was awesome.
Unified,
So,
yeah.
I mean, I don't wanna put anything more on your plate, but I mean,
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of even if we just not kind of bring it all together, the theme of the form and the survey, and bring it together onto one sheet with some visuals, like what it would even look like, and maybe even coming together as a group and doing it together.
like as a group, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, I just think this is an opportunity for a conversation amongst everybody. I mean, every class should be having these conversations.
I know, like our, you know, the theme of some of our biggest issues just in our, and what the kids that I feel they want access to, the biggest thing is pizza on Friday right now, but no, I feel like, you know,
Wait, why are we not
our
having pizza on
voices,
Friday?
it used to be routine.
Oh, I bet.
But no, coming together and as a class and seeing what some of those, because the questions on those surveys are some that I don't think to ask, and so it would be nice to look it over and maybe kind of bring it together.
Would
And
it
I'm
be
just
helpful?
trying to think of the visuals that even we use as a check-in at the end of the day, like the sad face versus, like, how do you feel about this? And
Would it be helpful if this was made with visuals?
so I could do that
No.
real easily with
Or,
Board Maker.
or someone else could do it for you so it's not on you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So,
And then send it to you to approve.
I know, it's a weird statement,
Well,
but all their, like,
I have it right on my computer. I use it daily, so it would take 2 seconds.
Okay. Well, if you were willing to do that, but also, do not have to, we could get someone to do it for you.
Okay.
We would share it with the other,
Yeah.
we could share it with the other elementary schools, cause it might help other students too,
Absolutely.
or
Like
whatever, so.
everyone's, you know, we
Yeah.
see a stop sign, we recognize it immediately. I
Yeah.
think visuals make
Yeah.
it just easier to understand.
It's so important that I think this conversation in class, like, should happen. I mean,
Yeah.
what do you all think?
Yeah,
I
with the
mean,
class, all
Yeah.
classes.
Yeah.
So, the survey that we're talking about for the high school students is like a survey,
Okay.
but it's write in. Like, we're not giving them the prompts, we're asking them a question and they can write in whatever, which scares the administration, but we're doing it anyways. We work through it, but we do, I think, wanna do both on the equity vision statement and on gathering information from students. Like, we did talk about focus groups, we did talk about other ways to get information and feedback about what would help students, you know, move forward in making North Kingstown School Department more equitable and more belonging, and, you know, those sort of things. So this is step one, is just trying to gather some information from the students at the high school, but there will be more conversations about it. So it's good to know, we'll be able to bring back from that SELAC, definitely believes that these conversations should be happening and that students at all levels should be
Yeah.
heard.
Having them,
Is it anonymous?
Yes.
We have our next meeting on May 21st, I believe. So,
I think Robert
if you-
Jones said it was the 28th in his email.
Says here.
no, the DEI,
Oh.
I'm sorry, not
Oh.
SELAC,
Okay,
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
the DEI, so if you talk to the parents, it's not like the conversation ends here tonight, so you can feel free to share my email, marylowepresty@yahoo.com.
I think this is really nice too, by the way.
Yeah,
Okay,
me
I
too.
know it's old school, and I do the 3 up to save paper, and I cut, all right. As I always say, I say to my children, what's my mantra? Waste not, want not. Okay, last thing that we
Mine's
have.
no is the beginning of the negotiation.
I like that.
I'm not joking.
late for
Yours
me, my
is
kids are too
Yours
old
is
for that
nice
now.
too, Mary.
So the last thing that I wanted to, really, this would be great, and again, this is feedback, like, ongoing, this is not gonna happen between now and the next meeting, but if, the more feedback I have, the more we can move these things forward. And I feel strongly that, and I think the advisory committee agrees with me, that the district really needs to have like an accessibility audit, not like we need to hire an outside company. I just said, you know, I've got all the time in the world now to just even go around to each of the schools and have a checklist to see how accessible things are. You know, it's possible that at some point they were ADA compliant. It's possible sometimes changes are made not just to our schools. I mean, I see it throughout the community and businesses and medical offices where sometimes a change is made and it's no longer ADA compliant. So what I wanted to just share with you is this is what we came up with for a list of things that would be included in the audit. I didn't copy this because it was just done like on like a spreadsheet, and it's just a draft. So this, under the category main entrance doors, would be included the distance from the accessible parking spots and also an automatic door opener, okay? Versus the ones where you have to pull the door open, quickly jump inside the vestibule, and then get buzzed into the second one. No. And if these aren't clear, just let me know. Under the category elevators would be the location of them. That's probably like prime. The dimensions, to make sure there's enough room for whomever is using the wheelchair in addition to at least one adult attendant. And also the weight capacity, so that would go hand in hand with that. And then under the category accessible parking would be the number of spots, clear marking, access space on the sides, distance to the front door versus a ramp. Sometimes it's like a ramp, the side or the back of a school or school building, and signage. So instead of just having the logo painted on the ground, to actually have the sign, the physical, like on the pole mounted. I think out here
We have it at
they do a
Fishing
good
Cove.
job, yeah,
Yeah.
and I think they do a good job here. So that would be like an example. Under the category bathrooms, an accessible stall in a communal bathroom, private area for students who require continence care, a sink at the accessible level. Lighting, accessories for dimming overhead lights. Playgrounds, accessible equipment, accessible pathway. Under representation, the decor, imagery. I've brought it up under our committee because I go to meetings here all the time, and just within this room, that's something we should be able to do like really easily. And then under policies addressing accessibility if those like need to be updated.
So you're going around to the schools and looking at all of these? Or?
There's no plan yet. It's
Okay.
it's figuring out. I think what we have to do is work with the Buildings and Ground
Yeah.
Department, whom I trust that they follow ADA guidelines, but I think there's also that element
Yeah.
that those of us who work with students with disabilities know that something might be ADA compliant, but it's not what I call
Yeah.
ADA friendly.
Compliance
There
is
were-
the floor, not the ceiling.
There
It's
were.
the floor, not the ceiling.
Oh,
Like you
okay.
have to be compliant,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
there's a lot of opportunity beyond that.
Okay.
I always like
You
so.
have some really good expressions.
You can use it.
There were a couple
To
of
make some t-shirts.
there were a couple of things I was thinking of at Hamilton that, like the automatic door, that would be so helpful. You know, getting in a wheelchair, especially going outside, like someone's always holding and stuff. I don't know how that works with a vestibule and security.
Yeah,
But
that's a good
but
question.
that's a huge one. And then we have a really nice, outdoor playground that students in wheelchairs have a hard time getting to. Some of them have to go back in a stroller because it goes over the field. Just throwing it.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, just to throw it out there. But those were, like, as you're reading the list, I'm like, oh, yeah.
One of the things that I just like two of the words that I think of as you are sharing that are accessibility and belonging, because
Yes.
it is the DEI Advisory Committee. When I applied to be a member, I said I really would like to also add the letters accessibility and belonging, because I think that's part of it. So like that example is really, it's very simple, but it's great, because it's, if something is not accessible, how are you going to belong?
Yes.
And that's just one playground, so we
Right.
have multiple
Yeah,
ones.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the
That's just an
bathroom
example.
thing is a huge thing too, because, you know, children that need, you know, self-care
Mhm.
in that area, having the space to do that
Mhm.
is a little limited.
Mhm. So I think it's a really good opportunity, and again, so if there are any ideas that you have, pretty much from your own direct experiences, or if you know of somebody who's, maybe somebody's, like, as Erin said, that kind of like soccer field chatter, you start sharing things that might have come up. Or like Jackie just is, as you as working at the preschool, that's, super helpful. So again, feel free to email me. It's a work in progress, but the more we can build upon this at each meeting, the sooner we can move it forward. So
Okay.
I think that's it. John, thank you for allowing me to squeeze that in.
Okay, the next topic is the Robert Jones compliance emails. I don't know if all of you have seen them.
I don't think that they did. I think Rachel maybe just shared it with you and Amanda.
Yeah. So I will say, just from my experience with all of this over the years with Mary and Amanda, we went to SELAC training and we learned about all the requirements for what a SELAC should have. We're supposed to have certain members, so it's supposed to be majority parents, right? I'm just going off the top of my head, but there's supposed to be majority parents of kids with special needs. There's supposed to be a school committee member, which we did not ever consistently have, I would say, until Erin started coming. I know Jen Hoskins used to come, and
Yeah, I think her schedule didn't allow her to come to all of them, but
yeah, she before you, she was the most consistent.
Yeah.
I would say. But I will also say, when I came to my first SELAC meeting, it was you, me, Amy, right, and Dr. Santa. I think it was a bare bones thing. It wasn't even.
No,
like,
Dr. Santa wasn't here.
not Dr. Santa.
Dr. Carson.
Carson. Sorry.
Yep.
And it wasn't even really a SELAC, I don't think. Right? It was just like people that showed up, happened to show up. So
Yeah, we would go to the meetings, and it was like, we needed to create some momentum, and we needed to have some structure. So Dr. Carson approved John. At the time, there was another person who's since moved out of district, Amanda DeSantis and I, and she approved for us to do SELAC training to become a leader through Ripen. I don't believe Ripen has that same program anymore. We did, it was a 2 full Saturdays. This was back in September of 2016. And that was just to show us how do you run a meeting. Usually we have the tent cards that we put up and things simple as serving refreshments. And so yes, ideally it should be a majority parents.
majority parents, it
Yeah.
should be a school committee member, a teacher, which I would say at least you Sasha, you've been consistently coming.
So can I take one step back, John, just to
Yeah.
make sure people are with us? So a community member who used to be on the school committee sent us an email saying, hey, I don't think your SELAC is in compliance with the state law. And so we looked into it, and there are some opportunities for us to basically make sure that we're doing what SELAC has bylaws, and so just making sure that we're doing what's in the bylaws. So one of the piece that John's talking about is the membership, and making sure that based on what is in our SELAC bylaws that we have those members consistently coming, because although I think everyone is welcome, there are supposed to be some very specific folks as the official folks that are here, and then when you have those official folks, you're able to establish things like quorum, which allows you to make votes and do official things to say, like, we officially want to send this to the school committee, XYZ. And so that's one of the pieces that he had pointed out that we probably have an opportunity to round out the group a little bit more.
Yeah, but one thing that I will mention is, it's been Mary, Amanda, and I, and,
Yeah.
and, I guess, Mary, you're not officially a SELAC member now, but you've been coming, right?
I'm not a leader anymore,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I would be considered more in like the community member category as opposed to a leader.
Yeah, so then the other thing is, we're supposed to have a child with special needs in the school district, right? As one
I'm
of the
not sure if
members.
that's a requirement, because I think sometimes that's one that's difficult. I
Yeah.
think what I would suggest is that we get the bylaws just so that we're not misspeaking. I think one of the things that we have consistently had, at least during my tenure, was the special ed director, and
Right.
almost all the time, Jackie DiLorenzo. I think you might have missed one
I
meeting,
think
Jackie.
you won. I know.
I really mean that, so
Yeah.
Jackie's been a consistent presence, and the assistant,
The
like,
assistant has come, yeah.
yeah, and so that's why I think the part where we really have an area of opportunity is more parents.
So another thing I
More
mentioned.
parents' garden.
I don't remember everything you mentioned, and we can, I think Amanda, had suggested that we do like a little subcommittee of this, or whatever you wanna call it, like a side group to address this, but, we're definitely not taking minutes every time. Like, I don't have minutes from the last meeting, we didn't approve them at the beginning of this meeting, cause I wasn't even at the last meeting, so I don't know who took minutes. You know?
I used to do that, that was consistently, I would do the minutes, and then what we would do at the next meeting
Yeah.
is distribute them
You have them out and
and
then
vote
we
on them.
approve
And I
them.
do think that, I don't know what his, I didn't read the email from Mr. Jones, but as far as I know, I remember having a conversation with somebody from the Secretary of State's office, and I believe that the meeting minutes are supposed to be submitted so that they have them on record.
Mhm.
I don't know what that time frame is, so like, is it 1 week after the meeting, or,
No, it's longer than that.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
would be something to,
So, and what I'm getting at with that is, I think we need to designate somebody to take minutes, maybe. I don't know, cause I take them sometimes someone else might, if I'm not here, who does it, right? Like, sometimes I don't take it, there's been meetings.
that's where I
where
think there's an
you know,
area,
John-
there are areas of opportunity, like somebody could, like, put together the agenda, get the meetings organized, somebody could do the minutes, and if it's broken down into smaller pieces, it's just not as cumbersome.
mm,
So I think what I would recommend, John, is I'd be happy to work with you and Amanda or with Dr. Santa on just figuring out like the next steps of what we need to do just to make sure that to fill in the gaps of the bylaws. But then also, like, once you do that, then this group has an opportunity to look at the bylaws and see if they want to make any changes. But I would kind of start probably with like that document, make sure that that's established, and then have you review the bylaws if you wanted to make any changes. I don't think it's a lot of things. Like, I think it's just some small, tiny things that we might be able to just make sure that we have, you know, different folks and different voices at the table, and a couple other little things. Because I do believe that there have been some minutes posted from in the recent-ish past, and so I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just making sure that we're in compliance with our own document.
Yeah.
So, I'd be happy to help, like, identify what those next steps are, and then maybe at your next meeting, there'll be some action items of what that could look like. Because from what I've read in your bylaws before, was, like, I think there's some stipulation of, like, voting members are people that come to a certain percentage of meetings each year, right? And so, like, you folks come to most, and so you would be eligible to be voting members. And so, you know, like, there's just things like that of, like, noting who are the folks that are coming and keeping attendance of who comes to make sure that we know who's voting versus who's not voting. Just simple things like that. So, we'll help you get straightened out.
I think over the years, in my experience, I don't really think there was anything we really actually voted on.
Yeah.
It was more, we would have a speaker and we'd have discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
but I understand the need to have that all,
Yeah, and I think
spelled out, yeah.
I think where it can be helpful is, like, say, you know, like with the DEI advisory committee or some of the other advisory committees, SELAC is a mandated advisory committee, but it's still an advisory committee to the school committee. So if you wanted to, it doesn't have to be super formal, but you could say like, oh, we would like to make a motion that the budget and finance advisory committee look at this, or we'd like to get more information from the school committee regarding this. And so then it could go up to the school committee as more like, not just me telling them it, but having the group say, hey, this is something important to us. So that's probably the only big purpose that you would need that piece, and then approving minutes.
Yeah, Dan, there were some other things he mentioned that I'm a little bit curious about.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it at the presentation I gave to the school committee, I think it was in the late summer. And Rachel did address this at the first SELAC meeting, I think, of the year, but I don't know what we provide comments to. That's one of the things we're supposed to be doing, and I have never, ever participated in, like, officially provide. I know, Mary, I think you're the only one that's participated in, like, I don't know, some boards and stuff like that, but I don't think we've ever provided comments on anything.
Oh, as a group?
Yes.
I've spoken personally, like to the building subcommittee about the school bond and the
Yeah.
middle school, but that's,
But like I
From
think one of
my-
the things you mentioned, we've never done anything like request something or any, we've
I
never,
want to.
You know what, so
I mean,
what
you
I
could do
what
something
I
as
often
simple
do
as-
though,
You could do something as simple
Yeah.
as requesting like a budget item for, when we've had speakers, and I think it came out of whatever, it was a small cash fund, is providing some kind of like token of appreciation. Like it could be a potted plant, flowers, whatever, and a note, because they're not being paid, to present. So that might be something that we could vote on, unless it's already in the budget.
anyway, we can talk about all this.
yeah, I'm happy to help. And also, what I've been always saying to folks is, in the past 2 years, the district has gone through a lot of transition and a lot of change. New superintendent, new assistant superintendent, like the list is very, very long. And so I feel like we have very stable leadership right now, and so now is the time that we get to then, like, I do it step by step, right? So you need like the leaders, and then now we can start getting things back on track that might have gotten off track during a lot of the administrative transitions and whatnot. So this is just another one of those things, and we can get it back on track easy.
I think that's great. The only thing I've noticed, and I have not been involved as long as you have, is just the follow-up, because there's just a lot of great conversations that happen, but then where does it go?
Right.
You know, the follow-up piece to keep things moving along. That's the only thing that I've noticed.
And sometimes that can be a little bit tricky if the meetings, because I think the meetings are 5 or 6 a year. I mean, I do think there is some value with committees that meet every single month, because you just, I don't know, you just get this less time that elapses. So-
Yeah, and I think that is true. Also, something that SELAC might want to consider is for your next year's calendar, just aligning it with school committee meetings. So like, if, like this one's very well timed, right? It's Wednesday and then we meet next Tuesday. And so when you're thinking about your frequency and when you meet, it could just be aligning them so that you don't have to wait like 2 meetings before you can get a response, or, you know, if that makes sense. So that could be something, you could of course consider your frequency of your meetings, but I find alignment to actually be more important than how often. Cause like, you could meet monthly, but if you're meeting the day after the school committee, you're losing 2 weeks every time.
Yeah.
The switch to here instead of the library has helped make it so we,
Oh yeah, this has been way better.
yeah, this
It
is way
used to be
better.
Davisville Academy, you remember the stuff?
Yeah, this is,
Yeah.
things have definitely.
Yeah.
And I think it,
Yeah.
like, picking dates used to be very hard, you know, and it will still be hard because there's a room that's used for other stuff, but the limitations were like when trying to get a spot at the library.
Or even when we're at the library, getting them to turn the projector on was like a project in itself.
And you
Like,
can only meet for such a short period, it was like.
Alright, so I will help you with that and just making sure that our bylaws are up on the website and that you have like the folks, and then, like I said, if you wanna make any changes to the bylaws, we can put that on the agenda for your next one and then go from there.
okay, we have 5 minutes. Officially, I guess, right? 8:15.
You got this, cause one of them,
Okay.
and
Okay. Sean dinner is tomorrow. I did not register for it. I don't think Amanda did.
Is anybody going?
Are you
guys going?
Me and Kate are going.
Are you going?
Mary gets all the credit.
Yes.
She sent out like.
Because she sends us emails and
Oh,
says we
she's
should
taking
do
the
this.
bus.
Oh, that's
Email.
So that was like a launching pad for me. I attended in 10 years ago, 2015, and it was a way, I think, just to kind of see that they have these groups all around the state. What they used to do is, because they would try to seat you with, schools that were near your district. So sometimes like we'd sit with like Jamestown, East Greenwich.
For the
um,
nice folks that might not know that are watching the tape.
Oh, yes, what is
it's-
Sean?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that, thank you. I know acronyms.
It's
can be
okay, I just
tricky.
know that some
Yep.
people can't come and they can't
Yep.
then say, hey, I don't know what that means, so I always
Yep.
try to
So
catch things that
Sean
maybe
stands
people
for
don't know.
Special Education Advisory Network, and so it's a statewide group. There are mostly parent leaders, but there are also teachers, there are special ed directors. It's really well run. They usually have like a topic, a featured speaker. David Cienko from RIDE typically speaks. It's well worth your time, and the pot roast from Cello's is really good. And I would advise that, like, if they say, like, the doors open at such and such a time, it's nice to get there early so you can chit chat, and I think they have prizes, cause I know Amanda one year got a really cool notebook, cause she got there early. I did not get one.
Who's going? Just so Kate and
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
so,
would be great to have like a report, so what we would do is do the report on it at the next meeting.
Was there a cost for it? Okay.
yeah, so I can read the little agenda that's on the email. It has, it's at Cello's, like you said.
Airport Cellos.
David Cienko, is the Office of Student, Community, and Academic Supports from RIDE, will be presenting a presentation on the Right to Read Act from Emily Klein, who's an education specialist at RIDE. And then in addition, there will be a dinner with network opportunities, and then a local advisory committee technical assistance session. So maybe we could talk,
Oh.
you could maybe bring up the bylaws or something
Ask about
there,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's everything on the email, but I don't know if you can still register. It doesn't say there's a limitation, so if anybody's interested.
I should probably know this.
Carpooling.
What email, who did that email go to and where would one find said email?
I got this email, and I think I've always gotten them since I've been on SELAC, probably from Ripon.
From
It's from Ripon.
Yeah, it's from Ripon, actually.
See, we would probably get it
Yeah,
as being leaders, I don't
Yeah.
think,
I network and
Mm.
information.
Ripon,
they
yeah,
don't, they
Rhode Island
don't,
Parent
so they
Information
don't
Network,
go,
Ripon.
they don't call it that anymore, they just call it Ripon.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
really?
even though that's what it stands for,
Yeah.
they just call it
Oh, okay, yeah.
Ripon,
Yeah,
because it also encompasses, if you're like caring for an elderly family member, that type of care. So it's to kind of broaden that.
It's probably a nice thing for people in the school committee to just be on their listserv, just to glimpse it, right, just to see like this is, they do some pretty good stuff, like, they have support things for like parents, they have like support once a month for, just like groups and they also have they've had some really excellent speakers.
Right,
I mean, I don't
right,
really,
and Kate,
yeah.
yeah.
Ripon has a lot of good
They're
stuff,
great.
like,
Yeah.
so we did our SELAC training there, and I believe there's an online training they give for it now.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's
We
online.
can ask tomorrow.
There's a special education rights, the Ripon webpage has so much stuff on it, you can just access.
It's a good
Yeah.
resource for families.
Yeah.
I've attended some trainings that they've done, but I've also attended, I think it was the beginning of the school year, I don't know, the school year's been so
How
long.
do families find out about it?
It definitely is out there, so, I mean, I always send information, I get emails from Ripon,
Yeah.
and I send like interesting, trainings that are coming up, and I put it on, they put it on their Google Classroom, my teachers, I put it for them, and and then, I went to a couple of things at the beginning of the school year, because they were talking about students from early intervention, who turn 3 in May, June, July, and August, and services end at that time, and they have to wait till school starts. So there is a Senate bill that hasn't been passed on the state level yet, where that if a student from early intervention turns 3 in those months, that EI will continue to give them services until they start with the school department. So that was really interesting. I went to those sessions, and then, like I said, I do get the emails, and I forward a lot of the good trainings that they do for families.
Yeah.
Like what questions to ask at an IEP meeting, what is the referral process. So they do a lot of nice trainings for new parents.
They share a lot on Facebook too.
And
Yeah.
Ripon I
see a
have
lot
there,
on-
yep.
I
We-
share a lot of their
we-
stuff.
Okay, so I wrote down, tell more people about Ripon. Not that you're not doing that, but like,
Yeah.
if me as a mom who has kids who have an IEP and is the school committee chair, did not know that I could be on a listserv, maybe others don't know too.
Yeah.
So we'll
We can
think
get
about
it
what that
out
could
there.
look like.
Yep.
Not to say that you didn't put it out there, but just there's so much stuff sometimes. And so
absolutely.
we'll just think about how maybe we could make that more aware, make people more aware of that, because it sounds like a really good
It's a great
resource, and then
resource.
a really
They have a
good
call center
opportunity.
too, so parents could just call and
Yep.
then they
Yep.
triage
Yeah, but
to
advisory.
other parents and you talk about sort of brainstorming how you can sort of address things. I mean,
This is lovely,
well,
great.
we'll ask them to come to this. I'm sure they've come
They've
before
come
to our
before, yeah.
SELAC.
They have come.
Yeah,
I've had
we can ask
parents
them
bring
again.
right
Oh, yeah.
in team
Yeah.
members
The
to
thing
IEP
that is really
meetings.
interesting
Yeah,
and
they'll come
tricky
to
about education is you have to repeat stuff all the time
Mhm.
because there's a new family every year, right?
Right.
And so like even if like Ripon came 2 years ago, like that doesn't help the you know, like and so it's just thinking about that systematic education of resources to families.
Like
because
I
it
know
goes
it's there,
fast.
but like
Of
you
course
said, we
you-
better get it
Yeah,
out there.
and
yeah.
so
Mhm.
and maybe you know so it's just that I always think about how can we get information and I think to your point the principal emails are one of the most effective ways to communicate
Yeah,
with
I agree. I
the
agree
communities
too.
right now and they're so great about stuff so I mean no and
That's
thanks for
great.
And
educating
it
me
would be
about
nice
it
to have
and
like
have
a, you know, a resource page. I don't, you know, I mean, Ripon would be one of those that you would add to it, like, you know, so an education resource
it
page.
might be
Maybe.
One idea I'm
No,
just gonna
okay.
throw out, and this would take some organizing, and we used to talk about it in our early days, and then didn't happen, and then COVID, and one of the districts, had a, like a special education resource fair. And they would have people like Ripon, you could have somebody from, is it Social Skills, the place?
Social sparks.
Social
Yeah.
Sparks, yep, thank you, that type of thing, and have like a resource fair where there could be in an accessible place, stuff, self-care for parents.
my to-do list gets bigger every
I
time
think
come
it would be,
I know.
it's good no that's a very lovely amazing suggestion
Where did they have that?
I think it was in Cranston, this was years ago, and we had the idea, and it did not come together. I think it would be great, but you'd have to get it at, like,
Yeah.
just, like, you don't wanna do it in the winter when there's like crazy weather. Like, this time of year would be nice because people wanna get out, but you're not getting into like the too busyness of like,
going to
Mm.
May stuff
yeah,
Yeah.
May and June, yeah,
Yeah.
so,
There's
anyway,
like probably
just a
one
thought,
good day
you know,
in a year that we
Yeah.
can figure it out.
Yeah.
Host resource fair. Okay, that's a very nice suggestion. Good job, SELAC. Okay, noted. Have fun at the dinner.
yeah.
Report back.
Yes,
Have fun.
we'll tell
Get
you
the
what we
pot,
think
get the
of
pots. I hope you like pot roast as much as Mary.
But you gotta bring cookies home for your kids
So-
too.
Okay,
Yeah.
We
The
gotta-
next-
I'm gonna move
Yeah.
on. Okay, there's a potential speaker for the next meeting from the Autism
That's what I was
Project.
gonna
I don't know who's arranging that. I think it
No,
might.
not the autism project.
No, it's
Nope.
for,
Oh,
Is
It's
that the
CAD,
CAD?
yep.
Okay.
Yep, the clinic for children with autism and developmental disabilities.
yeah.
So it's Dr.
I am on that one.
Hmm?
I am on that listserv.
Okay.
Just joking.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
Dr. Kamusa, and
Mhm.
she's apparently the director. So
Yeah.
she's gonna share information about the programs that they have. It's an outpatient clinic at Bradley, so
Mhm.
she'll talk about CAD itself, resources, and then I'm gonna ask her just to share her wisdom, to this committee, and see if she'll share some points of wisdom with us. Yeah, and I'm actually participating in 2 groups. So they're doing 2, they offer groups for parents, and so I'm gonna engage in those and see how I like those, and I can share that with you all.
Okay, I'm gonna keep going.
Yep.
Okay, Unified Sports and Special Olympics.
Just wait. I know. We gotta finish. We should advertise that. Like, remember
Oh,
how we
yeah,
we should. So if
definitely.
anybody needs help with a flyer or
And I
anything,
think,
yeah.
actually, yeah.
Kate created
It
it.
exists.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah.
So Kate already created the flyer,
Awesome.
and we'll get it out in the principals. I'll talk to Dr. Santa about getting it in other schools. But yeah, that would be great to have
All right, great.
that go out there.
Okay, so for Unified Sports, the basketball just wrapped up. Special Olympics, spring and summer games are coming up, and then the spring games this weekend at Hendricken. I don't know much more about that. This is all that Amanda has sent me. Yeah, and that we had Unified Spirit, which just happened recently, right? Like
Huge success at all the schools.
Yeah.
DMS,
Yay.
Laura worked really closely with
I send
Amanda
emails.
Yes, you did. And they did a really cool pep rally at the middle school level with the life skills classroom and their peer pals, and it was this huge thing. It was a huge success. So
All the kids, they made signs
Yeah.
for all
really
the players.
sweet. I got videos.
Yeah.
Is that DMS?
That was at DMS, yep.
I was able to go to the high school game
Mhm.
during Unified Week, and the gym was packed, like 100. It was wild. And the teachers have to opt to bring their classes down, and I think they were they could not.
Yeah,
I think not everyone got to go that wanted to go, and so the support was really great, and the students were really awesome, and our players were
Yeah.
wildly good and amazing, and it's
I
probably
think-
one of the funnest things I get to go to every
Yeah.
year. So.
I think all of the schools, I think it gets stronger and stronger every year. And we have a great group of parents that have been so supportive with all the the supplies and everything and getting it going. Also the life skills program at the high school came and talked to our kids in an assembly, and that was amazing. So yeah, and I think they did it at all the elementary schools.
I think so.
Mhm.
I don't quote me on all, but I know it
yeah,
happened
I'm
at
pretty-
some.
I'm pretty
Most of them, I
sure.
think.
But yeah, very great success this year, and it's just getting better and better every year, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yay, that's a
Yeah.
big celebration, that's
I love that.
fantastic. Yep.
And the last agenda item is potential roles and responsibilities for next school year. I don't know, I didn't make this agenda item, so, so I'm not sure what that is. Maybe for the SELAC, for who's gonna be members, I guess. I don't even know what this agenda item's for, really.
One year we met at the town beach for like,
Oh, that was nice. It was over the summer.
I really liked that, and would that be a good time to go over the next year and
Like
stuff?
brainstorm.
I feel like that was so nice, and
It was
I
nice.
remember, and
Mhm.
Mary, you were there, and it was just such a
We
good,
sat
it
at
was
the
like the end of the
table
year, it was a
and-
smaller
yeah, it
group.
was nice.
So is our meeting on the 28th the last one we have like on the calendar?
It's, yeah, the official
Yeah.
last one.
So at that one, we definitely should pick dates for the fall, and then we could pick like a summer gathering, planning meeting,
Mhm.
retreat, whatever you want to call it.
Does the school committee pull out their calendar for the school, like
It's
they're
already
already
out.
picked?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, the
So we can
school
bring that.
committee calendar is approved, and the school calendar is approved.
Yes.
And so you have what you need to
To
successfully pick dates. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm just gonna discuss this at the last meeting, right? If we're gonna talk about the next school year, right?
Mhm.
And a possible meeting in the summer at the beach.
I love that. That's fun.
That was
Well,
nice.
the only thing is you
Yeah.
have to, oh no, if it's after 5 o'clock,
Oh,
You
we
don't
didn't have
need a
to worry
beach
about
sticker,
that,
yes.
yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
we'll put everyone in my very
was.
big pilot in there. Third row, everybody clap. If I remember to go to town hall and get a beach pass.
Well, I guess one last thing I'll mention is that we went to the, I think this was after the last SELAC meeting, we went to the, polar plunge. There was a lot of, like, school people there, it was cool.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was like the Special Olympics, polar plunge, right, where,
Oh, yeah.
a lot of there was a bunch of people from the high school at least there.
That's,
Do you want to make a motion?
actually, Warwick schools just did a unified basketball league at the elementary level. So
Do you have their name and
I
contact
do have their
information?
name and contact. I'm gonna figure out how they did it, but they have programs at each of the schools.
Mm.
Alright, I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
Yes.
oh,
Alright.
second?
I second it.
Yeah.
That's very cool.